The absolute value of a real number x is a real number denoted by x surrounded by two vertical bars, defined using the following rules. If x is a positive value or 0, then the absolute value of x is the same number x. For example, the absolute value of 5 is 5, the absolute value of 0 is 0, and so on. If x is a negative number, then the absolute value of x is defined as the number without the minus sign. For example, the absolute value of minus 5 is 5, and so on. If x is a negative number, then removing the minus sign is the same as taking the additive inverse of the number x. For example, the negative or the additive inverse of minus 5 minus minus 5 is 5. For the formal definition, we write the absolute value of x is equal to. Then, since the definition depends on whether x is non-negative or negative, we do an opening curly bracket, which here denotes cases, with one case on each row. First, the absolute value of x is equal to x if x is greater than or equal to 0. Next, the absolute value of x is equal to the additive inverse of x if x is negative. We see that the absolute value of any real number is always non-negative. This follows since the additive inverse of a negative number is always positive. Let's have a look at the inequality the absolute value of x is less than 2. Which values of x will satisfy this inequality? Well, any real number between 0 and 2, not including 2, will satisfy the inequality. For example, the absolute value of 1.6 is 1.6, which is less than 2. The number 2 and any number greater than 2 will not satisfy the inequality. However, the number minus 1 will also satisfy the inequality. The absolute value of minus 1 is 1, and 1 is indeed less than 2. Similarly, all real numbers between minus 2 and 0, not including minus 2, will satisfy the inequality. Minus 2 and any number less than minus 2, such as minus 3, will have an absolute value which is 2 or greater, and they will not satisfy the inequality. This means that the inequality, the absolute value of x is less than 2, is equivalent to the double inequality minus 2 less than x less than 2, or x is any real number between minus 2 and 2, not including minus 2 and not including 2. Viewed as predicates, they have exactly the same truth values. We can generalize this and replace the number 2 by any positive number a. Replacing 2 with 0 or a negative number would not be useful since no real number would satisfy the inequality. X less than a is equivalent to minus a less than x less than a. For the inequality, absolute value of x is less than or equal to a, x equal to a, and x equal to minus a will satisfy the inequality. That is, this inequality is equivalent to minus a less than or equal to x less than or equal to a. As a final note on the absolute value, the square root of the square of x is equal to the absolute value of x. For example, if x is equal to 4, then x squared is equal to 16, and the square root of x squared is 4, which is what we get when we take the absolute value of x. If x is minus 4, then x squared is 16, and the square root of x squared is 4, which is the same as the absolute value of minus 4. Convince yourself that x can take any real number, and the square root of x squared will always be equal to the absolute value of x. Only if x is non-negative will the square root of x squared be equal to x.